Starting this course on career counseling, it is extremely important to understand why you should take your career choice seriously. In this video, we will help you understand the importance of making the right career choice for yourself. So, why is your career choice so important? It is important because it determines a lot of things in your life, including number 1, quality of life. Your career choice plays a huge role in deciding where you live, how flexible your life is, and the kinds of things you are able to do in your free time. Number 2, identity. Ask any elder person about their career and they will tell you about it as a part of their identity. They'll say something like, I am a journalist, instead of, I report news. Notice how everybody asks you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And not, what do you want to do when you grow up? This shows that your career choice shapes your identity. Number 3, impact. Every human life touches thousands of other lives in so many different ways. If you select any 60-year-old person who is about to retire, take a time machine, find him as an infant, throw that infant into trash, and then come back to the present day, you'll find that a countless number of things around you have changed. So whatever career you choose, the world will be affected by it. Anything that determines your quality of life, your identity, and the impact that you make should be taken very seriously. And that includes your career choice also. So we hope that this short video could help you understand the importance of making the right career choice. Having done that, we will now move forward to start our career counseling course. We are pretty excited and we hope you are too. So, let's begin. See you.
Good evening everyone, welcome to day 70 of ProBano's live podcast. Today we have with us Pragya and Mr. Sen और आज हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं networking. We talk a lot about this particular topic. We hear people say कि network is important, to grow in this particular market you have to network with people, you need to get in touch with a lot of people. Everybody keeps talking, but nobody tells you exactly why it's important and how you actually can network with people. So we're absolutely going to talk about all of that. So Mr. Sen, if you can give some introduction and a context to our audience, please, over to you.
Okay, namaskar, good evening everyone, welcome to the show, and thank you Samanth, good evening, thank you Pragya, good evening. So we're talking about networking. The question is, what is networking? So let us try to examine that first as to what is networking. So networking is the process of, this is my definition. Networking is the process of connecting different people with other people and yourself. So we know there's a networking like in your electricity, there's a networking like in your telecom or your communication, where you're attaching one bit of a device to another bit of device, so a current can flow. I mean, telecom is all about current, electricity current flowing anyway. So same thing with people. When you network, you connect with other people, and other people connect with other people, and what flows in between are ideas, mainly ideas, and what carries the idea. The postman of carrying the idea is your emotion and the way you talk about it. So that's how I would describe networking.
Well, Mr. Sen, you told us exactly what networking is.
Yep.
But why does it matter? Why can't I just, get my degree, do a job, or start my own company? Why does it matter that I need to get in touch with people, build a circle of the people I trust or they trust me? Why does it matter, and how do I go about doing that?
Okay, if you did not have all the people around you, and if you did not connect with anyone, what would it be like?
Well, firstly, I don't know, lonely to say the very least. I don't know, the very basic
Okay.
emotion.
Okay. I told you emotion is the carrier of your ideas. Remember that. So you'll be lonely. What else will happen?
You'll probably be doing a lot of your things on your own. Especially, for example, if you have a startup and you don't have people around you, or whatever you're doing, there might not be a lot of people around you to at least support you or see you do it. So, I mean, it follows on what Samanth said, that feeling of loneliness.
So hold on, guys. We are in a lockdown for how many days now?
Almost 70 days.
Excellent. So we are in a lockdown for 70 days. So are we networking? Are we limited networking? How do we feel?
Now, on ProBano's point of view, I'll say we've been doing overtime with networking, with the podcast. So that's one.
Okay.
Definitely.
And
Okay.
the one positive aspect of the lockdown was that people who you normally would see, like they would only speak at conferences, or they're completely confined to their own business and they have nothing to do with reaching out to the people as CEOs or owners of a company, and they're actually coming out to speak to the people directly. So that's one positive, and that's one one way networking, I guess.
True. But getting on platforms, I think that are more accessible to a wider group of
Okay.
people.
Are you creating a network, or you're getting onto a platform and listening, or only talking?
Now
I think even when,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Pragya, go ahead. No,
I was saying that when you're going up on a platform, I think you're also networking in the sense that it might be something that helps you get in touch with someone who you may not probably have gotten in touch with because you were working in your own confined space or area. So even when it's like a one way, even it's just one person getting on a video and doing say a Facebook Live, they're still trying to network, even if it takes a while. I mean, they're not just going up there and talking just for the sake of it. There's a motivation behind it.
So that brings me to something else, which is public speaking networking?
I would say it is networking, but like I said, it's one-way networking for now, when you're starting off at least.
Okay, why is it not networking?
No, it is networking, but it's one-way networking, I would say.
Why is it networking then?
Okay, you're reaching out to people, your information is going out to people, and
I can write a book.
okay, but then let's see. Firstly, there is a population of illiterate people. Okay, that's one. The second factor being, though people actually have emotional connect with through a book, as actual genuine readers do. So that's two.
See, okay, on a book, I can write a comic. I can draw, illustrate something and get it across. What I'm trying to get at is networking is always two-way. It's not a one-way. It's not a one-way communication. Standing up and giving a lecture to 100,000 people is not networking. It is just giving a speech or a talk. When your professor comes to your class and gives a lecture, at best it's a lecture. He networks outside the class. When you go to his office or you have a cup of tea with him or her and you exchange ideas. So networking is an exchange of ideas, and it is in two ways. So that's how I define networking.
Yeah, Mr. Sen, but okay, you did say like what networking is, and you asked us, okay, what happens if you do not network? I said lonely.
Right.
Pragya said, you feel like there's nobody beside you. The companionship, to basically, to sum that up. And one more point I want to add is, let's say if I were to start our own business, XYZ business in whatever field, now, or that particular business would need some kind of marketing. If I were to, reach out to people. Now, I have nothing to do with marketing. It's not my area of expertise. Maybe I can get into management or administration. So I guess expertise comes into play where you're not one person is not good at everything. So you get people that are going to work with you.
That's a very good point. That's an excellent point. So why do we networking? We need networking because, as someone said, you need different types of skills and expertise. Right? Go forward. You can't be everything yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you need people to come and help you, and you need to help other people to reach wherever they are going. Yeah, Pragya, you're trying to say something.
No, I completely agree with that. Yeah, you're finding the right people who can complement whatever you are doing and being able to basically complement what the other person is doing for better outcomes for everyone.
Yeah. Now.
Then, Mr. Sen,
Yeah.
we talked about one particular thing, which was, we talked about this where when you're trying to connect with people.
Yep.
And you're trying to get people that they don't necessarily have to agree with you on every level. They don't have to, you don't have to have the same wavelength. And we talked about this is whatever team you're building or the people you're networking with, if that's the keyword we are going to focus on, the people you're networking with, you need to complement each other. As you said, it's a two-way street. It's not like, okay, he's putting in money and that's all he's good for. Or, he's just giving us consultation and that's all he's good for. I think it's a two-way street in a way that all of the skill set involved in the people, they complement each other and not just everyone agreeing with each other. I think there should be room for criticism and a bit of debate as well.
Okay, let's take like this. So we are an individual. Let us say, let's take an example. So we have, I'll take my example. So you have me, right? Now I have some skills, whatever it is. So let's say I can talk, I can write, right? I'm good at convincing people, and that's it. Now, with this, I want to serve some other people, right?
Right.
So when I want to serve some other people, so those other people are receiving something from me. Well, that's my intention, that I will do something so that I can serve those people with my convincing power, my talking, my writing, or whatever it is, right?
Right.
Now, I don't know how to get across to them. That means I don't know what is the way, what is the channel, what is the mode or the media to reach them. And I also don't know how I build a relationship with them. So I've already got 4 different types of people, entity, or roles, if you want to call it that way. So one is me, right? One is the end beneficiary who's going to benefit from whatever I'm doing, right? The other role is how I reach that beneficiary, correct? And the fourth one is how the beneficiary and me, we develop a relationship. Are we cool on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
yeah.
So now, I read, I write, I tell stories, and I influence people. That's my 3 main things I do. So what I don't have is content. I don't have a subject matter, right?
Right.
So now I will look for people who has subject matter, who has the content. right?
Right.
So they become my partners. They feed the content to me. For feeding the content to me, I'll need a channel, right? That means they have to do an activity, I have to do an activity to get that content in the way I talk, or I write, or I convince my beneficiaries, right? For that, I need to have some resources. I need to have a laptop where I can type, maybe, or I need something where I can talk. It could be a recording, it could be a stage or something. So again, while I'm creating what I do, I'm looking at another four entities, which is the partners who are actually providing the content, the activities that are being done, so the people who are doing that activity, and the third aspect is uh, the resources I need. So I might need a laptop, might need a stage, I might need whatever that I need to get it across. And with all of this, I can then create whatever I'm trying to do and take it to the beneficiary. So this whole thing, you see, is a network. Make sense?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
So you're sitting in the middle of the network, whatever you're doing.
Right.
You're taking things from someone through some activities or through some resources, and you're doing something with it, and you're taking it to your beneficiaries to a certain channel, and you're building a relationship with them. For example, take the podcast. So you're doing the podcast, ProBano is doing the podcast, right? Now, for the content, what does ProBano do? Look for guests. Writing guests, that's your partner, right? What are the resources that ProBano uses?
Human resource includes me, Vinayak, and Pragya, and
Right.
Aditya most of the time, and
Yes.
then a laptop and a basic setup that for streaming, I guess, the tech side.
So that's the resources you need,
Right.
right? What are the activities you do?
Research upon the guest,
Yep.
and then think of a topic for the if you're following a particular theme.
Yep.
So
Structuring the conversation.
Yeah.
and then
Yes,
let's see
the
what more.
conversation itself, correct?
Hmm.
Now, so you have now done that part of it, right? Now let's look at your beneficiaries. Who are your beneficiaries?
The viewers.
Audience.
Yep.
Let's see. Along with the viewers, I think the guests as well. There you. I mean, firstly,
Yes.
ProBano.
Yeah,
ProBano
yeah,
is the.
yeah. You're right. Go on.
Firstly,
Also,
the ProBano is the. I guess the primary beneficiary out of all this.
Yeah, pro bono. Yep.
And then
How do you reach? How are you reaching your beneficiaries?
Facebook and YouTube,
Facebook.
social media,
Facebook and YouTube.
and
right?
Instagram for promotion. Yeah.
Correct. And what is the relationship between the beneficiary and yourself? How is it built?
One either through direct contact, we know them personally, or through mutual contacts.
Try to think of the comments they give you. They ask you questions.
Right.
That's a relationship you're building, a bonding. So now you see the podcast that you're doing, it's a network. Without these elements of the network, your podcast would not be there. Right? So that's what a network is. And you also understand why it's important to have a network. I mean, you could have gone on stream, talking about anything, right? But then without that network, you're not creating a value. either for yourself or for pro bono or for your beneficiaries.
Okay, guys. So sorry, I just checked my mic was muted. So as I was saying before, like Aditya and I used to go live for the podcast on ProBano's Facebook page. I don't think we've been live on YouTube. And before that, it used to be very specific. Like you used to address ITS students on resume building, or how to build skills, soft skills. Or before that, it used to be a generic generic live stream where we used to talk about. We used to talk about, okay, as person asks, how do I get into animation? Is there actually any scope for that? Is there some money in that? So that used to be the thing. But now it actually became where we are connecting with people, or it's basically like a certain mobile company. I don't want to take the name. Connecting people. We are connecting the audience, and we are connecting the guests who are expert in their particular field, and we are giving a moderator platform where they can interact directly without any kind of middleman. I think that's what we are doing.
Right. So in your previous thing, when you and Samanth, you and Aditya used to stream, were you part of a network?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it exactly a network now. It was just us with the audience directly that we already had a network with. It wasn't new per se.
So what you're saying is you and your audience is not a network.
Let's see. We are.
That was also a network.
You
Instead of
continuously building a relationship.
yes, you had a relationship, you had a channel. You were doing something that they needed, right? And you did not have a guest as a partner, but you definitely did your homework. You studied about it. You worked on it. You did some research on it, right?
Right.
And then only you could talk about it, and so that the others could understand. So you did not have a physical being as a partner, but you had other resources as a partner. You might be Googling it, you might be looking at different templates or whatever. And then the resources are the same that we talked about. So that's also a network.
Right. So, Mr. Sen, with that being said, I want to maybe transition into kind of a subtopic into networking, as to why do you need to network, and the importance of network in building relations, not just a colleague or an acquaintance that's going to help you in your business or whatever it is that you're doing in your career, but to build actual relationships. As humans being a social creature, basically.
Okay, let's look at it that way. Let's say that a relationship is important for a network, not the other way around. So when you're building a network, so network, as we agreed, hopefully, that it's a different discrete entities who come together to deliver a certain idea to someone or benefiting someone, and everybody has a certain part to play in it. And relationship is the glue that keeps all of this together. That's how I put it. Now, how you build relationship, if that's your question, Samanth, how do you build relationship is based on values. Now, what do I mean by that? As human beings, we are very tribal. Now, what do I mean by tribal? Like when you're walking as a stranger, right? And that suddenly you hear an accent, and since you're from Hyderabad and you hear that accent and you say, ah, that's a Telugu accent, and you're in, let's say you're in, say New York,
Right.
and then you hear a Telugu accent, you immediately turn around and say, hey, you're from Telangana or Hyderabad.
And,
Yeah,
and
I'm from
actually, it's
Hyderabad.
very easy to find out, to spot that accent.
Absolutely. And that's how you build relationship. What we are always doing as tribes, we are looking for commonality between each of us. What's common in between us? Once we find that, we use that as a basis to build a relationship. That's a very simple way of putting it.
And I think, Mr. Sen, the one thing that our brain does is always try to find things that we already know, or at least the concept of illusion. Of course,
You look for yourself as a mirror in the other person. For instance, if you meet someone from Australia and he says, I'm from Australia. So, oh, you're from Australia? Okay. Steve Waugh was a great captain in cricket. So you have something to talk about. That's how you start building a relationship.
You try to find a middle ground, basically.
Yeah, you find a hook. I think that's the word. You find a hook.
So, Mr. Sen, with that, what you said about finding a hook, or to initiate a conversation through something that is common between the two parties. For now, I'll say parties. ज़्यादा ही formal हो रहा हूँ मैं. So, let's say the one thing even I struggle with, me personally, is small talk. This generation usually criticizes small talk being it's completely useless or pointless. But then when you're trying to build relationships, small talk is very essential. It builds a foundation, or at least makes you familiar with the person, the opposite person. So any suggestion as a younger generation to us, any suggestion on small talk or initiating a conversation?
Look for the hook. So if you meet someone from China,
Right.
how will you start the conversation? You don't know the language. They don't know the language. But you have to spend 12 hours together in a railway compartment, just the two of you.
I don't know if at this point in time, to not be completely cynical, I'll just check where he's been in the last 15 days.
Fair enough.
I mean, after I find out that he's from China and he's traveling, so I'll try to find out. I think first and foremost, that's a basic survival instinct for my own safety, I guess.
Okay. Then what will you do?
I think the most common would be where he's from. I mean, that's the usual concept, is where you're from. I mean, within China, and then where you work. What do you do?
And then?
And then
You have to spend 12 hours, my friend.
One of the best ways, I think, to engage anybody like in a conversation that I've noticed is ask them about themselves. Basically, try to get them talking about themselves a little bit till they get comfortable. Because what I've noticed is people generally like talking about themselves or what they do, at least the top surface of who they are. So that is something that might help them get comfortable about. Getting into a conversation, a flow.
Okay. What if he doesn't answer? He said, who the hell is she? Why will I answer? Remember, he doesn't know your language, or she doesn't know your language, and you don't know her language, and you're stuck. What is the most common hook that you can find?
current affairs.
No.
Okay.
You can't interact, right?
Most basic common thread that you can pick up on.
Offer them like a snack if you have something. Right?
Sorry?
Offering them a snack. I don't know. I'm just.
That's a good idea.
Because you don't have to talk for it. You can just hold out a packet of biscuits and be like,
That's a good idea.
indicative of, do you want some?
That's a good idea.
I mean, if I were someone, firstly, I mean, if someone offered me food in a train, firstly, I would not accept it. I don't trust.
That's also right.
Now you see, you're from India, that guy's from China. 75% of the mobile handsets in India are Chinese.
Okay.
Chances are both of you are using Chinese handset. Chances. Right? So there you
Right.
go. It was not a brainer. I didn't even have to think of it. So you say, oh, this is a Vivo or a Xiaomi or one of those, whatever it is that you have. And there you have, you're bang. You're on it. So you see, you look for those very common threads that's there with you.
True, true.
And then you start building on it.
Hmm.
Well, Mr. Sen, of course, finding the common ground. Okay, how do we go about, when there's a language barrier? Now, we talked about, I think, yesterday with Payal, sign language. That's the universal language, offering food.
So what's your phone? It's a Xiaomi or a Vivo or what's it?
Mine's an LG.
Oh, yours an LG's. Give me someone who's got a Chinese phone.
I have a Samsung, so.
Oh, you're a Korean. You're a Korean. You just get it. But you take it out and you say, see, I'm using a Korean phone. Right? You show the brand. Most likely the guy will take out his Xiaomi or whatever he has and show his brand. And then you can get into the merits and demerits of a phone and start building from there.
Right.
And I'll tell you what the Chinese do. When they go out of their home country, they always take a Christian name.
Right.
So they'll call themselves, if it's a lady, a May or a Joan, one of those Jill, one of those very common girl names. And a boy will say Mike or John or something, which is not their name. But
Right.
what they are trying to do, they are trying to make things easier for the other party. All the Indians, if you know, they go to the US, they all come back with a sort of a Western Christian name, Swaminathan becomes Sammy. You must have heard of that. So yeah, you have it.
Well, Mr. Sen, okay, from that, okay, we talked about, how to build relationships for any person, and we talked a little bit about, okay, how do you try to find the middle ground to small talk or any kind, the first conversation, the icebreaker, basically. Now, I guess because we are pro bono and we are focused on career counseling, and since we are also doing entrepreneurship program with the students of ITI, we'll take a little bit towards career and business. Okay, so as we already discussed, the one point was you're not an expert in all the things. One person cannot be an expert in everything, and it's necessary to build relationships of people who are good at multiple things. Multiple people being good at something, and you become a team. So, Mr. Sen, okay, for starting a startup, now where does networking come into play?
Okay, before you start up, you have to start yourself up. That means you've got to look at your career, right? So how do you network for your career? I think that was your first question, Samanth.
Right.
So if that basic model of networking holds, let us try to put the career into perspective over there. Right? So you have yourself, you have some skills. So you've studied something, you've got a degree in something, whatever it is. You could be an engineer, doctor, educator, a management person or someone, right?
Right.
Having done that, you look at it and you say, who do I want to benefit with my skills? You have to target. You have to target whatever it is. So you could say that with my skills, I want to do a startup. Great. I want to become an entrepreneur. Even better. But who do I want to benefit with all that?
Right.
I need to identify those. Right? So whether you're looking for a job or you're looking to set up your own business and be an entrepreneur, you're going to benefit someone. In a job, you're going to benefit the organization where you're going to work, whether it be the government or a public sector undertaking or a private sector company or another startup or whatever. Right?
Right.
And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you still need to find out whom you're going to benefit with your offering or a product. So you do that first. You do that listing first. Having done that list, you figure out how you're going to reach them. So you're going to create something. You're going to create a value. How you're going to reach the beneficiary. So if you're looking for a job, how you're going to reach your recruiter. How you're going to reach the company where you want to work. And if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to figure out how you're going to reach the product or the idea that you have to the people who are benefiting from it. So a simple form of reaching to other people is a communication tool that we all use, is to tell the other people about yourself or your product. Now, you don't have the luxury of doing a podcast like this and inviting people. You may attend a fair or something like that, but that's fine. But when you're looking for a job, the channel you create is called, you create a CV. You make a CV where you list down what you have done and what you can do, right? And if you're doing an entrepreneurship, you write down what are your offerings and you come up with a brochure or whatever it is. Now, how do you reach them? So if you're looking for a job, you send it as a mail to your HR people, or you attend a career fair, or you go in for placement agencies to look for a job. And for getting your idea as a entrepreneur across to your beneficiary, you look for different channels where people can be aware or made aware of what you can do to benefit them. So you will use different types of social media, like Facebook, where you'll advertise your brochure perhaps, or Instagram, or you'll have a website, or you'll put in an advertisement or a sponsorship in a YouTube or something, or you can even have a YouTube channel. That's on the digital side. You will attend other fairs. You will go and seek appointments. You'll talk about your product at various forums. On the social media, when you're looking for a job, the most popular one is, of course, LinkedIn, where you'll create a professional profile which other people can see. So that's the channel which you reach. Now you need to build a relationship with the beneficiaries, right? And we talked about that. So that's how you communicate. We talked about it yesterday as well. So how you communicate is how you build a relationship. It has to be built on certain commonality between yourself and the beneficiary. And we talked about it just now. How do you hook them? And then build on it. But in all instances, when you're building a relationship, it has to be built on pure honesty, pure integrity. People need to have faith and trust in what you're saying. And you need to have faith and trust in what they want and they're looking for. So relationships are built on faith and trust. Right? Now, when you have all of this, do you need partners? Of course you do. Of course you do. Why? If you're looking for a job, the beneficiary might say, okay, you're saying that you're going to do all of this for me, and I believe you, but I still want to go and check with someone who knows you. So we call that someone is going to check a reference, right? That becomes your partner. Your reference could be your teacher, your professor, or your previous boss who was there. So they are all your partners who can come and support whatever you're saying that, yeah, this guy is there, he's a great worker, or she's a great artist, or whatever. Right? So the resources that you have spent in creating your thing is you have invested a lot of money, a time, of energy, and you've got some activities done while preparing yourself, become an entrepreneur or become a job seeker. In an entrepreneur who helps you, your mentors, your coaches, your financial institutes, your suppliers. In your job scene, somebody else might come to know of a job and say, okay, there's a job out there, why don't you go and apply? I'll put in a word for you. Happens, right? So that's the networking you need when you want to develop your career. I have not yet come across anyone who has been very successful in a career without networking. It's a very important thing.
I think, Mr. Sen, at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing in life, I mean, irrespective of what career you choose, teacher, or let's say entrepreneur, finance executive, no matter what, you always deal with people. Through your all your life, you deal with people, either be it on a personal level that provide that emotional stability that enables you to have a successful career, or in your job itself, where you actually have to interact with, like you said, the stakeholders and the beneficiaries, the two parties that are involved. So I think as humans, it's a given, there's no arguing about that. We are social beings, and more so we are dealing with people all day, every day, except Sunday. You can stay in your room, that doesn't matter, but you're dealing with people all your life. And I think if you're dealing with people, and as you said, relationships, no matter how close or distant you are, it's always built upon trust and faith, and and belief in the other person. I think it goes without saying that it's not just about knowing people, it's about knowing the person, if that makes sense. It's not about it's not about knowing people who are a bunch of XYZ people, but knowing the person. Okay, I, Samanth, know and am in good contact or in good relationship with Mr. Sen or Pragya Mandol, XYZ person, not people. I think that's where you make a distinction. You just don't know people, you know a person.
It's more than knowing. It's more than knowing. It is creating a value for them. Creating something for them or doing something for them that they value. Then only a relationship can be built.
Right. I think Pragya has a question.
I agree.
Pragya, go ahead.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, because generally people are going to go for a particular relation with someone where they find value in it, where they find that it complements them in some way. So my question, Mr. Sen, is that is there something called networking in the right way? Or what I mean is, networking in the right way in the sense that are there a specific kind of people that you look for? I don't think that is the case, but I would like your view on it. I mean, is there something called networking correctly or in the right manner?
Or like
Because not always every single person that you might network with or get in touch with be directly related to how they can help you. Not always.
No, of course not. Of course not. So basically, that brings us to there are some personal networkings that you need to do. That's to have well-being in your life. So you have a network of friends, family, well-wishers who are there for you, who is going to be there so that your well-being is taken care of. So when you go to them when you're feeling sad, you go to them when you're feeling happy, all those sort of things which are personal in nature. So you have a personal network. Some of it could be part of your professional career life as well. There is an overlap. There's no question about that. And I'll come to that overlapping bit. So the personal networking is for your emotional needs. For your emotional needs, for your spiritual needs. And you might have seen, like people as they grow older, they become so-called spiritual. They go to gurus and so on and so forth. They're just looking to network with different people so that they get prepared for the eventuality that is there of life, right? At a younger age, you'll still need a shoulder to cry on, as they say. We have happy pains and we have sad pains. You want someone to share your happy pains, cut a cake together. And you also want that someone to share your sad pains, right? Wipe your tear away, perhaps. So now that network is very important. It takes care of your emotional being and your spiritual being, and also to an extent your physical being. Because you have a network with your physical trainer, the people you go and play games with, the people you work out with, keep your body in shape. Keep your finances in shape. Finances is a very physical thing as well. So you have to have a relationship and a network with your banker or your financial advisor or someone who can help you with finances. And when somebody is trying to help you with your finances or your body, you don't want them to get emotional. Because if they get emotional, they'll say that, no, you'll get hurt, don't do it. No, you'll get, so you will not be able to achieve your potential. You need someone who sees the reality. So when you're building your physical existence, which includes your physical being, your finances, all the things that are there, which is physical in nature, you'll need someone who is more of a coach, more of someone who can tell you you're going wrong. And that someone is not someone you cry on. For that, you have your emotional and your spiritual friends that are there and family, right? As well as you need someone to look at your cognitive, that's your thinking, your brain, your mental capacity, your teachers, your professors, people you learn from. Now, they can be the hardest taskmaster that you can come across. I'm sure all of us have had that experience, that your teachers are the hardest guys. They are the most toughest people around, right? They push you, they drive you, they do so many things with you. They make you cry. And then you need an emotional outlet. So you go to your emotional network and you cry it out. They also play a role, but they cannot be emotional. They have to be very objective. Same thing with the physical part of it, So there are the four things which makes a whole person: physical being, the mental or the cognitive part of it, the emotional part, and the spiritual part. So for each of them, you will have a different type of network, and you already have it. All of you have it. It's all there. And you use that network for different things at different times during your life, during the day, during everything. Did that answer what you wanted to look at?
Yes, it does. So basically, different kinds of people for different kinds of networking needs.
Yeah, because you have four basic, you divide yourself into four parts: physical part, the mental or the cognitive part where you learn, your brains are used, the logical part actually, the emotional part, and the spiritual part. So at your age, you may not have a need for the spiritual part so much. You'll have a need for the physical part and the cognitive part more. As you grow, your different parts will grow in different speeds or at different rates. And then you'll get a network for each of them.
Mr. Sen, because we are getting close to 7 p.m. Lekin, I want to actually touch upon this, even if we are, stretch a little bit, is the spiritual part, spiritual networking, and basically the word that usually you use in the psychology terms is transcendence. Maybe वो थोड़ा भारी शब्द हो गया, transcendence, but a higher level of existence in the current being that we are. So what do you think about that? In obviously try to let's if you could connect it a little bit to networking, the spiritual part of it.
I'll tell you a story. How about that?
Perfect.
Okay, this story was narrated by a guy called Stephen Covey, who wrote the 7 Habits, that famous book, 7 Habits. So the story goes something like this. And I hope by the time I finish the story, you'll understand spiritual network. So you had this billionaire who was worth about $2.5 billion, billion with a B, $2.5 billion, and he was very successful. Then suddenly everything started going bad. He lost a lot of money in his business. His wife divorced him and took his children away. His dog died. So he was in bad shape. So he went to his friend, very close friend, who was a clinical psychiatrist. So he went there and he told his friend his whole story, what happened and how it happened. And he said, I am depressed. I'm on the verge of breaking down. I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. What should I do? Help me. You're a professional psychiatrist. Help me. So his friend listened to him very patiently. I said, okay, I'm going to write you a few things. You just do them. I said, okay. So his friend took 4 small pieces of paper, something like your sticky pad, very small piece, and he wrote something on it. 4 different sheets of paper, folded it, put it into 4 different envelopes, small envelopes, and gave it to the guy. So this guy says, what is this? Why are you joking with me? I'm in very bad state. I'm about to be bankrupt. My wife is gone. My children are gone. My dog is dead. It's the end of life for me. Why are you joking? So his friend, the psychiatrist, said, you will not think I'm joking when you see my bill. And I'm going to send you a bill, by the minute. Okay. He says, just humor me and do it. And on the envelope, he had written 1, 2, 3, and 4. So he said, the instructions are as follows. He said, when you choose a day within the next 1 week or 2 weeks, whatever. You have to devote 1 full day to this. Okay. So the sequence is you open the first envelope, spend 4 hours on it. Then the second, 4 hours. The third, 4 hours. The fourth, 4 hours. This guy was even more confused. He said, you're really joking. He was angry. So he said, okay. So this guy made out a bill and gave it to him. It was $150,000. What? I told you I'm not joking, so do it. He says, okay, now I have to pay this guy so much of money, I might as well do it, right? So he chose the following Sunday And he thought that is a good time. And he opened the first envelope. And in the first envelope, it was written, go to your favorite place and listen for the next 3 hours. Go to your favorite place and listen for the next 3 hours. So this guy, he thought for some time, he said, yeah, the beach is there. We love to go to the beach. So he went to the beach. And he went early in the morning, 6 o'clock, because remember, he has to do it in one day. And so he had calculated 12 hours. So he went to the beach at around 6 o'clock in the morning. He went and he sat. And he said, you have to listen to everything for 3 hours, right? So he started listening. After some time, when his mind got still, he could hear the sound of the waves, which he had never paid attention to. He could tell by the sound of the waves whether it's a big wave or a small wave. Sounds are different. He could hear the sound of the different types of birds that were flying around, which again he had never paid attention to. And as the 3 hours, when the first hour became the second, getting to the third, the sounds became more and more clear, and he could identify each different sound. So by the time the first 3 hours ended, he was feeling very peaceful because he could listen to all the sounds and he figured out what they were. 3 hours ended. According to his doctor friend, he opened the second envelope. Took out the second slip. Written there, think about the memories of your childhood. Think about all the memories of your childhood. So he sat down and he started remembering his childhood, and he realized that he had never remembered the incidents in his childhood for the last 20, 25 years. He was so busy building his business, getting married, leading a life, he had forgotten about his childhood, about how his father used to take him to play, how his mother used to cook something for him, his favorite dishes, how he fought with his friends, how he succeeded. So he thought about all of those. And, as he was thinking, he was smiling. Because some of them were very absurd, happy things that happened. Some of them at that point were sad. But now, later on in life, he could relate to it in a very different way. So he spent the next 3 hours doing that. So 6 hours gone. He was feeling somewhat more balanced. He opened the third envelope. And it's written, when was the time you were the happiest? He looked at it and he smiled. He knew that that's a very simple answer. And he said, I was the happiest, or he told himself, I was the happiest when I was working at McDonald's, serving, at the counter. And what made me happy were all the children who came and they all wanted a Mac, along with the Mac ice cream and, all that sort of things. And the way they were so joyful in getting it, it always used to bring a smile to my face. And he realized the happiest time he ever had was when he was serving other people and the other people were happy because of his service. That didn't take 3 hours. And he was very happy. By that time he was already in a good state of mind, from the depression that he had at 6 o'clock in the morning. And this was around now, 6 hours on? So he would be around 4 o'clock in the evening. By that time, he was already relaxed, he was happy, he was smiling. He opened the last envelope. And on the last sheet of paper, it was written, write down your problems somewhere. We read that, he laughed, he knew exactly what to do. He wrote down his problems on the beach and he walked away because he knew that the waves would come and wash it away. That, I think, is spirituality for you.
Well, yes. I'm not going to add anything to that. I'm just going to reflect on that. I'm going to let the people think about it. I'm not going to question, no comments. I'm just going to say thank you so much, Mr. Sen and Pragya, and the audience, those who are watching. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Well, I can't make my usual exit today. That is, stay home, stay safe. I'll say stay safe. Can go out.
You can go out, but don't go out, is it?
I'm not saying anything. But guys, do like and follow our Facebook page and turn on post notifications to get notified when we do go live. And subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch our live streams on entrepreneurship. And see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. same time with another guest. Take care now. Bye bye. See you.
Bye bye.